got a new battery for the tractor here. Now on these Fords, they make this real convenient for you to get the battery out because they're very heavy. They weigh probably 60-70 pounds, something like that. Maybe not quite that much. But they put the battery tray on a pivot so you can swing it out and get to it, except it's on the other side of this. So normally you can swing this out, but I can't because there's a loader in the way. So it makes this kind of difficult. I got to pick the battery all the way up here and then kind of go up and over it. So we're gonna get that done, get that battery changed out. I've been having to jump it off pretty much since I got it, just with my truck. And now that I've got four-wheelers to drive out here, I don't have to bring the truck out here. And so I don't have the truck out here anymore. I don't want to have to drive the truck all the way in here and tear up the pasture more just to start the tractor. So I'm gonna do that. And then I got oil. I changed that transmission fluid. I showed in earlier video how it was all full of water, so we'll get that fixed. And then I'm going to use the tractor to pick up the mineral trough right here and then get it moved over to the new pasture where the cows are. So let's get to work. Alrighty, easy job. So 20 minutes maybe, probably not even that, 15 minutes. So yeah, let me turn this around. This is my little oil pan that I made, just a bucket I cut the top off of, and as you can see, I just barely made it big enough. So that holds like 4 gallons, something like that, or 3.8, I forget what the factory spec is on it. So battery's in, should fire right up now, and transmission fluid's changed. So we're gonna go get that mineral trough and move it to the next pasture, and the cows will be happy to have their mineral again. They've been without for a couple days, so they're gonna be real excited about it. Sunlight's kind of blowing the camera out here, but they're all sitting right there, and I got some more feed for them as well. So let's go do that. Cracked me up. I put feed out there for them. They ran over there. They're real excited, and they ate it all. And I came over here, filled up their mineral trough. Look at them. They're like, gotta get over here. What's in there? These ones already made it. Oh, they're all frisky. getting them some mineral. So there was still some left in there that they hadn't eaten before I moved them. So that's good. When I first put that out, they were going through it really fast, which just it means they were real salt hungry. And that's just, I've mentioned that before, it's because I didn't have mineral out here for them, which is, it's not good. It's my fault. Now I got it out here for them, and then once they got, I don't know, kind of satisfied, I guess, they slow down on it. I got to go get T-post. Almost forgot. And stake that thing down before they knock it over. So I'm going to go do that before I forget. I meant to show you guys this earlier when I pulled the T-post out of the mineral trough a couple days ago. I forgot to film it though, so this is a little thing that I made. This is not my invention. I copied an existing design. This is a T-post puller though. I did build this one. And so what you do, see if I can do it with one hand, you just put that thing around there like that, and then you got a nice handle, good mechanical advantage, and oh, I put this too close. Hang on. Trust me, this really is super easy. It's just hard to do with one hand. Anyway, then just like that, it just pops the T-post right up out of the ground. Kind of ratchets itself naturally. And that's how you get T-post back out. So, pretty handy tool. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend that you build one or buy one. They're super handy. They're kind of pricey though, so I just slapped this together out of some scrap. So, anyway, just thought I'd show you that. It's a pretty cool little tool. So they're cracking me up. I went over there, got a T-post to stake down next to the mineral trough, like I just said. And I drove past the troughs where I just fed them. And as soon as I got over there and then loaded up the T-post and started coming back, they all took off running back over that way, hoping there was more feed. And then I got over here, started messing around with this, and now they're all coming back to the mineral trough. They're like confused. What's going on? Like he keeps going places and not leaving us food. So anyway, cracking me up. I guess I'm about done for the day. So tomorrow I'm going to go to Chupp's auction and see about picking some stuff up. There's some more pipe up there that I might buy, and there's some 3-point attachments for the tractor that I might buy. So we'll see. I may get some video of that while I'm there and take you guys along with me. So on that note, you guys will be with me tomorrow in just a few seconds. Well, so I've been at this auction all day. If you guys have never been here, if you're not local, it's a crazy consignment auction. They have everything. People show up from literally hundreds of miles around and just sell all kinds of stuff. So these tractors were up for sale. A lot of this stuff, they're still going over there. And it just goes on and on and on. So they've got cars and trucks and trailers and tractors and equipment. I bought a whole bunch more pipe. I've got more of it out there that I bought that I'll have to come back and get on a different load. This is upside down, but this is a 3-point attachment with a fifth wheel or a gooseneck ball on it, so that I can use the tractor to move gooseneck trailer around, and then I'll weld a hitch on the bottom of this so I can move bumper pull trailers as well. It's just convenient. Now, this is a messed up bale spike, and I bought this for $12. These spikes here cost about like $50 or so a piece, depending on which store you buy them at. So I may try to just salvage this and put this back together where it's broken there. See, I'm not quite sure what they did to it, but even if I don't, those bale spikes by themselves are well worth the money. And then for $25 I bought this, I'm going to guess it's about a 200-gallon fuel tank, and so I'll be able to get Crowell Oil in Muskogee to come out to my land and fill this tank up for me once every few months, or however often I need it done. For not every few months, probably once or twice a year. And they usually sell that red dye farm diesel for about $1.50, $1.40 a gallon, something like that. So that's cool. I'll be happy to have that. One more thing, bought this 300 psi air tank. Now I have a 300 psi air compressor. I didn't have a tank for it though, and so now I do. So once I get my shop building set up, I'll be able to set up my 300 psi air compressor and get that going. So pretty excited about all that. And then I also bought a deep freeze that probably doesn't work, but it was $5, so I figured I'd try it. So it's still out there. I'll pick it up when I come back for the rest of the pipe tomorrow. The trailer's pretty much at capacity, so. All right, I got about an hour drive home, and then got to get all this unloaded so I can come back here and do this again in the morning. All right, well, once again, got back after dark, so unloaded them in the dark, generator running light. Got a clean pipe trailer, dirty Garrett, so a whole bunch more pipe. You guys probably can't really tell, but that's a lot of pipe. So I bought today a total of 65 more joints. It's 2 3/8 pipe, and I got to go back and get some more of it tomorrow, 26 more pieces of it. That makes up the full 65. And then I bought a fuel tank, so I got this unloaded. Kind of see how that works. It's just gravity feed. It's crooked right now. I need to turn it, straighten it out. That's all right. I bought this air tank. You guys probably aren't going to be able to see this. I left my flashlight in the car, so I can't see that at all. But I'll come back out here tomorrow when I'm unloading the pipe. Hopefully I'll get it done during the day and kind of show you guys what I bought. So give me just a few seconds and let's head to tomorrow. All right, good morning. It's 8:30 now. Headed back up to Shoto area to pick up the rest of my pipe and deep freeze. Now, I bought everything that I went there to buy yesterday, which was some of that pipe and that fuel tank. And then I'd seen in the pictures that there were several different 3-point attachment bale spikes. And so I intended to leave with at least one of those. And so I made that happen. The one I got needs work. It's all broken. Like I said yesterday, I don't know what they did to that thing to tear it up like that, but they hit it pretty hard with something. Well, I would guess probably backed into it with another tractor or ran into it with another tractor. I don't think they did that with the tractor that it was mounted on, but who knows. There are a couple other things that I probably should have bought and that I kind of wanted to buy. One thing, that they had a bunch of plate, looked like half-inch plate, like 5 or 6 sheets of it, full sheets, hadn't been cut into at all, just full sheets of plate steel. I wanted to bid on those, but I was up buying pipe and they got to them before I expected them to, and they sold. I never even got to see what they went for, so that's too bad. Then there was also a bunch of really heavy angle iron. Looked like about 7 foot long sticks of it or so. And they had probably close to 20 of those, and I'd have liked to have bought all of those as well. So that would have been really handy to have laying around. And then I did see also some little plates that you put on the front end loader, and then you could weld whatever kind of stuff you want onto those. And so then I could have built up my hay spikes for the loader on my tractor, which I need to do as well. And so that would have been a really good starting point. It looked like they were made for the John Deere pattern of tractor, so I don't know if they would have fit on that Westendorf loader that I have or not, but for whatever they went for, if it was just $10 or something like that, it would have been a good starting point, and I could modify it from there. And then if I had bought that plate and angle iron, I would have had more material to get those built up. But I didn't make that happen. That one, I just missed that as well. That they got through that equipment line and sold that stuff before I even realized that they were selling it. So that's too bad. And then the other thing is there are 2 1,000-gallon propane tanks out there. Now someday I'm going to want a propane tank, I think. And so I probably should have gone over there and seen what those went for, and I decided not to. I'd already bought enough, and so I just went and started loading up what I had already bought. But that was probably a really good deal. And the thing you run into out there is that people want that stuff, and they know what it's worth, and it's valuable to them. And particularly on those propane tanks, what's going on is the Amish community out there love them to death, but they got some weird rules. And they're allowed to have generators, so they can have like a propane generator or something like that. And a lot of them actually still use gas lighting. But they do have some electricity, and I think they're probably running them off of those propane generators.
So they're not allowed to be connected to the electrical grid, and I don't think they can be connected to like a infrastructure natural gas line from like OG&E or something like that. And I don't think they can have municipal water either, so they have to have water wells and then propane tanks, and then they can run generators to power their tools, and so they run gas or diesel or propane generators, and a lot of them do still have gas lighting in their houses as well. So that's probably where those propane tanks came from. And some Amish dude may have been wanting another one and may have outbid me on those. But a lot of times, people that are at that sale, they're just looking to buy stuff and then flip it on Craigslist or Facebook or whatever and resell it. And something like that would certainly be something that you could flip like that, but because of its size, they're huge. You know, 1,000-gallon propane tank, they're not small, they're not light, and so they're hard to handle. And so a lot of people shy away from buying big stuff like that just because they don't have a way to haul it. I've still got my buddy's pipe trailer, so I do have a way to haul it, and I could probably get it unloaded with my tractor if I got it home. So, you know, I could have handled it. It probably would have been nice to have, and that's probably the cheapest 1,000-gallon propane tank that's you're ever going to find. That being said, propane tanks float through there, and I would never actually need a 1,000-gallon propane tank, but you know, if it went for a few $100, it would have been well worth it. You're never going to buy even like a 200 or 500 gallon for that normally, unless I find another one at Chubb's one of these days. So I'm a long ways from needing it, and that's why I hesitated to buy it, and it is way bigger than what I would actually intentionally buy. But it would be kind of cool though to have that set up out there, and I could have a backup propane generator set up, and could potentially, you know, run my entire home for probably several weeks, maybe a month or more, off a 1,000-gallon propane tank with a generator. So that would have been cool to have, but I decided not to buy it. And then there were some they're called plug gauges. It's a machinist tool, and they're precision ground to certain sizes, so they'll come in. It's literally a kit. If they're still out there, I'll show them to you. But they're, you know, it'll be like one will be 500 thousandths, and it will be perfectly 500 thousandths, you know, within a couple millionths. And then the next one will be 501 thousandths, and then 502 thousandths. And so you'll have a whole set of them, and they're just handy to have around. I need those at work all the time, but I don't have any. And so it would be really nice to have a set of those for someday when I have my own machine set up. I'm needing those. Like I said, frequently I run into where I'd like to have one. And so what you do with those is you can stick them in holes to see if you've got your hole bored to size, or if you're reaming a hole with an adjustable reamer, you can try a couple and see which one fits the best. And then you can also use them to fit inside of a hole and then indicate off of that to center up on the hole. So if that hole that you've just made is your datum, you can stick that in there, and then you have a precision ground surface that you can indicate on and get perfectly centered, and then make your adjustments to wherever it is you're going for your next hole in a hole pattern or something like that. And so they're just handy to have in all different sizes, and they make them in all different sizes. And there's another sort of thing that I would like to have a full set of, which are called gauge blocks, also called Joe blocks. Swiss guy invented them, made them with a sewing machine actually originally. Pretty clever dude, but his name was Johansson, so they get called Joe blocks sometimes. But they're just square versions of the same thing. They're precision ground surfaces to a precision measurement. Also really handy for doing like inspection and stuff as you're machining stuff. So if you cut like a keyway, for instance, you can stick those in there and just have a quick check. Sometimes it's hard to get your calipers or micrometers and stuff like that underneath the cutter on the machine. If you want to leave it in there in case you need to go a little bit more, you don't want to take it out of the vise, and so it can be difficult to get in there and get a good measurement. So Joe blocks, right, gauge blocks, they come in real handy, and the surfaces on them are so finely, they're so precise that you can actually ring them together. And so you just literally you put them together and you give them a little bit of a twist, and they stick. They're not magnetic. I don't really know why that works. Something to do with maybe it's a vacuum, because you're squishing all the air out because the surface is so precise. There's a few different theories on why that works, but pretty cool though. You can set up a stack of them. I mean, even a foot long, and they'll hang out in the air and stick together without falling apart. And no mechanical actual means is holding those things together. There's no adhesive. There's no glue. There's no magnetism. Like I said, no, they're not magnetic. But anyway, so those are cool. Would have been nice to have those plug gauges. There's 3 sets of them out there. But I passed those up because, again, I don't really have a need for them, and trying not to spend money too frivolously. I did just buy a bunch of pipe. So now the pipe that I'm going to pick up today is a lady came up to me while I was loading it, and she said, hey, I bought 26 joints of this pipe. She says, but I'm in trouble with my husband. I've got to get rid of it. She's like, please buy it from me. So I said, well, okay. And so she said she'd bought it for $12.50. I said, well, look, I gave 10 for all of this, and that's all I intended to give for it was 10. So that's what I can offer you. And so she ate a bit of a loss on that one, and I gave her $10 a piece for another 26 joints of pipe. So bad deal for her, good deal for me. I felt kind of bad for her. I probably could have really stuck it to her and told her $8 or something like that. But I paid 10. That's why I went there to pay for that pipe. It was $10 a stick if I could get it for that. And I was able to on the other 2 lots that I bought. So anyway, the air tank that I bought, I'm actually really excited about. So it is a 300 psi air tank, and I have a 300 psi air compressor, and that was going in the trash at work, and so I threw it away in the back of my truck, and so I've still got it. As far as I know, it all works just fine, but they had replaced it. And that's part of a governor system that we have. So anyway, 300 gallon or 300 psi air tanks of that size cost like anywhere from $200 to $600, and I bought that one for $50. So that's a great deal, I think. I got into a bit of a bidding war with one fella there, and I was thinking, I'll give $50, maybe a little bit more for it, and we got to $50. I bid the $50, and then he quit, and nobody else bid against me. So that's pretty cool. Real happy to have that. That'll be great. And so what I'll do with that is obviously it'll be 300 psi in the tank, and then I'll regulate that down to like 90 for my shop air. And so I'll have CFH for days. Like it'll never run out of air pretty much. And it's big enough. I think it's a 150 gallon tank. Might be 125. I don't actually remember. There were a few of them that I was looking at yesterday. I don't remember what the gallon capacity was on that one, but anyway, I'm happy to have it. There was another one that was 200 psi, and it was a lot bigger and had an air compressor attached to it. I don't know if the air compressor worked, but if I hadn't got this one, I was going to go try to get that one. And even at that lower pressure at 200 psi, it was a much bigger tank, so kind of the same idea. Still would have been really good, more air than I could ever need. But and I could have put that 300 psi air compressor on there, and you just turn those on and off with a pressure switch, so I can set it to turn on or off wherever I want. Anyway, so I'll show you guys that other stuff, that tank, the air tanks, or the big propane tanks and plug gauges and stuff, if it's all still out there. And if not, I'll just get my stuff and move on. So see you guys at the field.
Oops. So here's this little deep freeze I bought. These have been out there for a long time. I'm not sure if they're the same ones that keep coming through, but they've always got a whole bunch of them. The handle's kind of broke, but cool little deep freeze if it works. I have no idea if it does though. It may not. So it cost $5 though, so I figured I'd gamble on it. I need one anyway, and if I have to leave it out in the rain and it gets ruined, I'm not that worried about it. It only costs $5. So got all my pipe unloaded, finally done. I'm very tired of pipe. I don't want to move any more pipe. I built these racks so that they'd be at about the height of the trailer, so that it was pretty convenient to unload it when it was the first couple layers. But now, as you can see, I'm 5 layers tall, and it's getting to be a lot of work to get it hoisted up that far. So better look at this fuel tank. It's got a little thing for a filter on it. I'll have to get a hose for it, and hopefully that valve works, and that'll be a valve that you can lock and keep people from just coming and help themselves to your fuel. And then here's these things. So this one side of this bail spike is still pretty good, which is why I think I might try to do the old heat and beat routine on this side and get it put back in, back where it's supposed to be. And then this other thing that it's kind of sitting inside of here, that has a 2 5/16 ball on the top of it, and that's for being able to pick up trailers and move them around with the tractor. Then, like I said, I'll weld a receiver on here for a 2-inch ball, and then I'll be able to move any trailers around. So that'll be really handy. That's something I was actually going to build with the out of the pipe. Both of these things are. So kind of saved myself some labor there and went ahead and bought them complete. Then here's this big tank. Like I said, I think this is like a 150 or so gallon tank. I guess the nameplate's on the other side. Let's see if I can roll it over. Oh yeah. It's pretty heavy. What do we got here? So, as you can see, max pressure 300. It's a Westinghouse. That's kind of cool. Air brake company. So yeah, it's interesting. This probably came out of a generating station. Looks like air brakes for a turbine, or not a turbine rather, but a generator. So that's kind of cool. Westinghouse makes a lot of generators. They make a lot of hydroelectric generators actually. So this number here, I'm sorry, I got you out of focus. It's saying 250, so this might be a 250 gallon tank. I don't think it looks that big though. Made in 1973. So that's pretty cool. What is this? Rad ellipsoid? I don't know. SH250, HD250. I don't know what that means. National L Board. Division 1. I'll look these numbers up and we'll see what that means. So, kind of neat though. I've got a blow-off valve on there. And it is set at 290, it looks like. So that's cool. So, anyway, I'm excited about that. Like I mentioned, I have a 300 psi air compressor that I'll hook up to that, and then you just put an electronic limit switch on the line somewhere, and whenever it gets down to a certain pressure, it turns it on. Whenever it gets up to a certain pressure, it'll turn it back off. So pretty easy to wire that up, and it's just going to sit out here. I'll probably try and stand it upright so that it doesn't get water in it, although there's no open holes on it, so I don't think it can get water in it anyway. And I need to open it up and see if I can look inside of it. We have a borescope at work I might borrow and stick down in there and see if it's any good on the inside. It's certainly heavy, I'll tell you that. So it's definitely built good and thick. In fact, that number here, that 250, that might be the thickness, might be 1/4 inch thick, which would make sense. That would be about right. So anyway, finishing all this up here. Deep freeze, I'm going to get back up to the house Not on this trailer though. I'd like to just throw it up on my tailgate maybe. I'm going to try that and then strap it on, and we'll see if we can get it to stay that way, and then I'll bring it up by the camper. And I did have to kind of tilt it on its side to get it off the trailer, so I'll let it sit for a couple hours before I try to turn it on, just in case it does turn on, because the oil will not be in the correct place in the compressor. So you don't want to start any type of refrigerator after it's been on its side immediately. I'm sorry. You want to give it a couple hours just to let that oil settle back down where it's supposed to be, keep you from slugging the compressor and breaking it. So anyway, it's been a productive weekend. Next weekend, I meant to bring this trailer back to my buddy this weekend, but was using it, so I didn't. And so next weekend, I'll probably end up bringing this back to him. So sure has been nice to have. Just reminds me of why I need one. I want one that's actually even a little bit bigger, and I want a gooseneck. So I'm looking for around like a 28 to 32 foot gooseneck trailer, and preferably with a dovetail to make it easier to get tractors on. And I want one a little bit wider than this one. So as nice and big as this trailer is, he's only got 3,500 pound axles on it, and so I'm limited to about a 7,000 pound capacity, which is why I had to come back for that other set of pipe. I just didn't have the axles under this trailer to haul all of it at once. Added up, these weigh about 150 pounds a joint, and I bought a total of 65 of them, so at the auction, plus I bought about 60 of them from him. So alrighty, I think that wraps it up for this video, so I'll catch you guys on the next one.